There we go. Is that it? Oh, I think it's good now.
Yeah.
Just checking. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Cool. Kevin.
It's a nice small crowd tonight. I like this. With any meeting before we start, I'd just like to recognize that we're meeting on the traditional territory of the Tsawwassen Musqueam First Nation people, who have been stewards of this land since time immemorial. My name's Kevin Vasconcelos. I'm one of the vice principals here at South Delta. I'm just going to quickly talk a little bit before I turn it over to Ian, and before I leave today, I want to give a chance for parents to ask any questions that are more SDSS related that I can answer before I take off. Welcome to South Delta. For those that are returning, welcome back. Those that are new, we're glad to have you here. We've had the pleasure over the last couple of days of meeting with the DHA students. The other day, I had a meeting just with our new grade 8 students to talk to them about some expectations and to talk to them about the new flex program with their schedule. And then Mr. Wallishin, the other vice principal, and myself started our day the other day out at the hockey rink. And we talked to the students and gave them the assembly that they missed the first day that we do with the school. We wanted them to have all that information as well. So really happy to have it here. Just a couple things about South Delta. South Delta is the biggest school in Delta. We're about 1,450 students right now. About 160 of those are in the DHA, so it makes a very large portion of our school population, which changes a lot in the afternoon. But we love having the academy here. We love having the student athletes here. It's a very academic school, and the DHA students have really shown that over the past couple of years with their hard work, both on the ice and off the ice. A couple things I just wanted to mention before. I know a couple of parents might have got some emails that their students are missing second period. Anyone here get that email? So what you're seeing with the second period, that's our flex period. So what we've been doing in the office is all the hockey students are supposed to be tagged so that that email never goes home because they're at the rink. We're finding out today that those students might not have been tagged properly. So please don't go home and take it out on the kids. They were not skipping, they were at the rink. They're not here for flex. The only kids that are here for flex are our kids in our French immersion program and our grade 8s on one of the days. So no flex tomorrow, so you will not get an email tomorrow, and we will do our best to rectify that tomorrow. Okay? Before I take off, just wanted to ask if there was any questions that I could answer that are just related to South Delta, that aren't maybe hockey related. Awesome. Any grade 8s? Anyone out there has students in grade 8? Good. So we talked to our grade 8s. Tomorrow we have our grade 8 Spirit Day, so they're actually going to come here in the morning. We'll feed them, give them a nice t-shirt, take them up to Diefenbaker, and have them do some team building games with all the other grade 8s in the school. We really talked to the kids the other day at the assembly. We really want to see them as not the DHA kids. We want to see them as a bigger part of the South Delta community and trying to integrate them into the school, which is hard when they're only here in the afternoon. We encourage them to try to get involved as much as possible, and if you can do that at home, that would be great. So thank you for coming tonight. Hopefully if you have any questions, they get answered tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to the boss.
Thanks, Kevin. Just a little history on our presence here in South Delta. This school was obviously the original housing of our original Skills Academy, and as the programs evolved and the Canadian Sports School Hockey League became a reality and we became a member of that league, the school has always made adjustments and accommodations so that we could be successful, but more importantly that our kids can be part of their school community. So, you know, when he speaks about them being part of South Delta, we strongly encourage that, you know, they take part as a regular part of the student body here during the lunch hours, the intramural activities, any sort of clubs and other typical, what you'd call normal student activities that they should all experience in their education. So South Delta, a big shout out to you and everything you've done, and look forward to that relationship continuing. The purpose of today is primarily for logistics and procedures and to put leadership in front of families that may have questions or thoughts about how the experience should be for them and their player. Last week was, in my opinion, our best startup yet. We have gone through 1 year in experiencing a new building and a new setup with a new structure of education. The district has gone through and invested in the educators best morphing the educational experience to fit not just each and individual player's experience, but the coach's experience and the family's experience, so that the education can be maximized, because that's what these kids are. They're student athletes, and I appreciate the investment of over $10,000 that the district has put into creating new course experiences for our athletes, and the time that our teachers have spent doing that during the summer months here. So as we always do, we take the experience that we've had and make it better. So saying that, the first part of our job is to make sure that our staff are unified and committed to the cause. So last week in our staff meeting, we went through just with a collection of our individuals. So these are some of the people, and we're not going to go through naming all of them. We'll all have our individual meetings as we go through our initial month. Some of the people that take on different roles within our academy. If you have the chance to take a look at our website, understand that there's not just the coaches that are associated with your team directly, but also other coaches that are working cooperatively to make sure that the experience is the best that it can be. When you look at, these are some of the others here. Again, some of them will be speaking tonight, some will not, but all of which are key parts of our team. Last year, I mean, when people vet our program, they want to know what we're about. Every year, we refer to our original sort of template and the values that we have and the values that we make certain we represent every day in front of our athletes. So we certainly have an old school values perspective on what education should be and what a student athlete should be, and more specifically, what a Delta Wild hockey player should be in a member and as a member of South Delta Secondary. The players, these are the attributes that we ask our coaches to exhibit, but it's also the attributes that we expect and reinforce daily. When we talked to our coaches last week, and our teachers, and everybody who got together collectively, we really made certain that we all shared 3 mandatory beliefs. And those beliefs were, number one, you gotta like kids. We're in the growth industry. You have to enjoy being around young people who are looking for advice, looking for stimulation, looking for challenges, and making certain that they can do it safely, experience success and failure in a healthy manner, and do it in a manner in which our coaches are constantly central to that. And ultimately, you know, that program-centered perspective with people who like kids, who believe in growth and accept their role and their responsibility for their growth, is just going to make certain that we get the best from our coaches, the best from our teachers, and ultimately a great environment for our kids to be in. Every year we sort of think, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to be about? How are we going to sort of collectivize and come together so that you know, we have a common language that we share? Initially, first year, year one, part of our program, we talked about accountability. We used the acronym, It's On You. You know, resiliency was the theme of last year. A lot of kids had and will experience, as they all do, as we all do, successes and failures, and we want them to be able to take on every challenge, experience some failures, make certain that those failures weren't things that stopped, but were actually motivating, and they took that sort of resilient attitude not just to what happens in their team, but to their classrooms, their relationships, and ultimately was part of their identity as individuals. So in this year, you know, our mindfulness coach, Chris Beach, who's also an assistant coach with the Bantam, or the midget prep team this year, and you'll meet Chris here briefly tonight. You know, I was meeting with our educational advisors, second to in support of what Tamara does, Ron McIntyre, and we noticed, you know, that there's this common idea that, you know, kids and attention spans and their ability to stay on it and just to be excited and really in the moment, there's a need to reinforce that. So I wanted to really talk about engagement, you know, not just be there in body, but be there in your spirit, be there physically, be there mentally, and be there emotionally. So engagement is sort of our theme this year. And engagement is something that we want, you know, to say, okay, what's the word? How do we express that? So we're going to use these words this year. We're going to talk about being dialed in. And Chris went away, came back with some words that we thought we'd share and we thought our coaches would use. And that language would be something you'd hear all the time. So when we talk about get dialed in, you know, you're in your humanities situation, you're working with your English, you're working with your socials, you're on the bench, you're in the ice, you're in the dressing room, you're at school, that, you know, you're dialed into the moment. You're not worried about what happened yesterday, you're not worried about what happened tomorrow, you're just dialed into that particular moment. And the words that we're going to talk about all the time are diligence, intensity, authenticity. So, you know, we have some kids out there that are trying to sometimes represent themselves in falsehoods and ways that they think others want to be. We want to accept them for what they are. We want them to be authentic, and we want to encourage that authenticity on a daily basis. Being level, you know, not too high, not too low. Sometimes not the easiest when we're talking about kids and some of the experiences it's hard for us as adults. Energized and dedicated. We're gonna reinforce those rules, those words regularly. And it's the language that we want our coaches to use, and it's the words we want our coaches to use. And I think when we use those words, it just becomes a consistent message from all of us. So that's our theme this year. It's dialed in, it's engagement, and there's a word there, rigor. You know, and I don't give, and nor should anybody, talk about rigor in terms of program failure. You know, we talk about it's hard, it's difficult. You know, I'm a fitness guy. I can push every kid to failure every day if you so wanted to. And we certainly have to be aware of the fact that rigor is important, but it's got to be rigor with sensitivity. We got to know that rigor is important because it's challenging, it's motivating, but it's also something that has to be endurable. So we want to use rigor, but we want to make certain that that rigor is not just a free pass to put kids in front of insurmountable challenges. So that's our language, that's our word. And one of the teachers found this great quote talking about the rescue that happened last year. and they're talking to a Navy SEAL, they say, well, how do you do that? And you know, the quote was, under pressure, you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the level of your training. And that's ultimately what we want to do. We want to put these kids in environments whereby they experience some form of challenge every day. And if you do that, day after day after day, they're going to develop these competencies. And we talk about, you know, having the confidence to succeed in an environment, whether that's playing against the other team's best players, whether that's on an exam whereby you're not necessarily the most confident about, you know, your preparation or those things, but we want to take care of that preparation. And we want to make certain that we provide them the best training possible for them to have success in those moments. So when your player says it's hard, you know, be certain that that hard is programmed, but we want it to be tolerable. And we want to make certain that we embrace that word, and it's part of what we're going to do this year, as we have in the past. We always talk about, you know, the investment. Well, we know the biggest investment is by the player themselves. That's the person who is most invested in this experience. Second to that is their family members. These are the people that are, you know, they love their child. And they put them in these sorts of programs to give them the best opportunity to have success and the best experiences they can. And then, of course, our role in that is to understand the investment that they have and the fact that, you know, we love repeat customers. We're in the people business. And that people business has to understand all the needs and the expectations of the player and the parent. So, no one of those is greater than the other, but we know that ultimately we're all there for the top of that circle, which is the player. Scott, our ultimate, you know, you gonna come at the end here?
Sure.
Yeah. Everybody, I think, knows our schedule. It's on the web page. I think not every one of us can follow that schedule, including myself. We've got yellow seats, blue seats, red sheets, white sheets, which have been devised very creatively for the sole purpose of best fitting our education into the experience of these of our athletes. Last year, I would say that our education was, for the most part, an online experience with academic support. This year, we've got a much more engaged relationship between the student and the teacher, and that specific planning will be spoken to at the end, and ultimately, again, with that intention of improving on our experiences that we had last year. Next up here, I'm gonna just have Chris come up. Chris is our mindfulness coach. One of the things that I always seek out are people who are different and have special abilities that I don't possess. Chris is somebody that not only had an extensive playing career, but also has followed his life passion, talking about success and studied the discipline here. And I just wanted to give him 5 minutes for you to understand some of Chris' strengths, some of the attitudes and experts that we have around our program here. So, Chris Beach.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm taking an opportunity here, first of all, to invite everyone here eventually to an informational session that we're going to organize later on about mindfulness. I think there's some things that can be clarified about it. It's been a buzzword the last several years, and I'm going to put on a little seminar to clarify what it is and how it fits into hockey. But just a little background on myself to give a little context of where I'm coming from. For those of you that don't know who I am and where I've come from, I played 15 years pro. Half of my career was spent chasing the dream of being a regular in the NHL, and the other half in Europe. And it provided a set of experiences that helped me understand the importance of taking good care of the mental game. And the first time I stepped in a sports psychologist's office was when I was a 16-year-old with the Calgary Hitmen. So I've always had an interest in that aspect of the game, and it carried on through my whole career. I came to the practice of mindfulness the last third of my career. And you know, without a doubt, it helped extend my career, as I came to a need in my career where I had to make some changes in the way I was thinking and behaving, and it contributed to my career in a big way, and that translated into other aspects of life. And like with anything in hockey, provides a great platform to learn about ourselves and apply the skills we learn within playing on a team and being a competitive athlete to other aspects of life, and that goes the same for the practice of mindfulness. So we talk about engagement, and that's a theme for the year, and mindfulness provides a way of practicing being engaged with the here and now. And you know, that's the biggest element of this practice. So if we look to what we can expect if you come and check out this informational session, I'll cover topics like what is mindfulness. There's some misconceptions about the practice that I'll go over, some of the benefits, some facts about motivation. Towards the end of my career, I studied a master's in sports management, which included investigating performance psychology and the science of motivation. Take a look at that. We'll look at flow state, the intrinsically motivated athlete. I talk a lot about flow. It's a state of being within athletics where athletes are functioning at their optimal ability, both psychologically and physically. And it feels great, and it's something that I like to really talk about and make apparent as it's an important aspect of an athlete's persistence and dedication to the sport. 3 areas of potential athlete stressors. So there's some common areas within, especially with student athletes, where they face adversity. And this is common not only in hockey, but if you look at elite level athletics in any kind of sport, there's some common things that pop up that pose some stressors to athletes. And these stressors can you know, get in the way, interfere with the enjoyment of the game, interfere with performing and performing up to their potential, and ultimately their sport life satisfaction and well-being. So we'll take a look at that, and we'll look at the stress reaction cycle, how stress affects the body, and in turn, and also it affects certain behavioral and thinking patterns. Also, how we can shift with mindfulness to responding versus reacting to these stressors. We'll also look at 3 ways mindfulness exercises attention. Mindfulness as a catalyst to flow state. This was something that I experienced within my career. That state of being I had lost due to some of the thinking patterns I developed over the years, and I wasn't able to experience that state of being in that moment and completely experiencing that zone type of feeling. And what I found in my own exploration, applying these practices and tools in the last 5 years of my career, I found that being present in this way, using this type of awareness, was a catalyst to this type of state of being. It kept you in the vicinity of this flow state. And then we'll look at the fundamentals of letting it flow, which is a very good way of simplifying the philosophy of mindfulness. And then we'll do a little short practice of dynamic breathing. So I just wanted to extend that invitation to you all here, and we'll get an email out to everybody letting you know the date of this evening, and it'll be held at Planet Ice Delta in one of the classrooms there. And thanks for your attention.
Kate, Jackie. So all those kind words I said at the start about the work put in by our educators, we all know that their education is the most important thing and set of skills that they're developing with us. So I would really hope that we're all dialed in and listening to how they expect us to behave as supporters of their education, and ultimately set the stage for their success.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jackie Friesen, and this is my colleague.
I'm Kay Prefontaine. The kids sometimes refer to me as Pre. She's usually known by
Friesen or G.
Friesen or G.
Maiden name is Gaspar, so. Yeah, so Kate's in charge of the social studies aspect. I take on the English side. And as you can probably notice, I didn't swallow coconut for dinner. I'll be here until about late October. I'm not sure who's coming in for me just yet. I'm kind of in the works of trying to get the person I want, but as soon as I know anything, the kids will know, and then you guys will know. So I'm here in the meantime anyway.
I'm here for the whole year.
Good luck, presumably. All right, last year to this year, so feedback and changes. So we had a lot of feedback ourselves. We got a lot of feedback from the kids because we asked them. We got feedback from the coaches and from the parents as well, either just, in person, email, or the survey at the end of the year. And we had some changes that we wanted to implement. Last year, it was a challenging year for all of us. It was a positive way too. We were looking forward to. It was a challenge we took head on, and we tried to tweak and alter as we went. It was a learning process for the kids and for ourselves. And taking that knowledge in, we decided to implement changes that basically took up our summer. So that's what we did all summer. We spent the time at the rink trying to figure out a schedule that would work for all the kids and to tweak and change the curriculum a little bit. Because in the end, we have control over what goes on there, but we literally spent the whole summer throwing out whole courses and creating them from scratch and getting them put online. So it was quite the process. I don't know if you want to go into schedules.
I'll just quickly touch on courses. So for everything that we did over the summer, essentially what we really wanted to go and emphasize was bringing back this whole idea of a blended model. We kept using that buzzword last year. We're definitely using it this year for it to be blended in that the kids are receiving course content online. It is available to them online, but with us as support. This year, we are confident, in fact, that it is a purely blended model, whereas last year it was more of they are online and we are there to support them as much as possible. Everything that they have in the classroom, we have essentially done before in our own classrooms. We took our classrooms as we normally run them, as they would back at the school, and brought them there, but we made all the material as well available online due to their travel schedule, as we've explained to all of the kids, so even when they're away, they can follow along with what they have missed in class, which is actually a benefit compared to what they would face back here at school in their regular classes. And we will be there teaching them each day at the rink.
Yeah, last year we had cutoffs. We found that there was, some students really took to it. They took it and they ran with it, which is great. We had one kid that completed English 10 and 11 last year. But there's other students as well that didn't, take to it as well. They struggled with the discipline of staying on task and getting things done in a timely manner. So we had to cut things off before Christmas, before spring break, to give them the incentive to get it done. Because we did not want to have everybody handing in, 50, 60, 70 assignments in June. So what we've done here is by putting up the classes and the schedules like we've done, we're literally going to be walking them through it just like a regular teacher does. So for example, for English 9, we'll start off with the short stories. The short stories we've uploaded online, so it's there. They do the assignment with me in class. If they're on the road, then guess what? I don't collect it until they get back. Right? They have the explanation, we go through it, this is my criteria, this is what I'm looking for, etc., etc. So when we do cut off before Christmas, and we still will, I'm not going to expect them to have 10 assignments done if we've only done 7 in class. So it's literally just like it's going to be a class here. I'm not going to cut off anything that they haven't had the time to do in class. So they should be going at the pace that we've kind of put out in class, and of course with the understanding that if they go on a tournament schedule, we understand that. We'll work around that as best as possible with them. So. Schedules. So part of the summer project, besides basically uploading our own course material, was looking at the schedule. We wanted to have it so that we've got 2 classrooms, we've got 2 teachers, and we've got 4 blocks. So essentially what we wanted to do was have it so that all the English 9 kids would be in one class, having the English 9 teacher, the Social Studies 9 teacher would be in her different class and have all the 9s at a different time. and to make it so that they're all together. Maybe it means that they split up between their teams, but you know what? Better that they get to know other people as well, but it kind of helps out with the learning process as well. That means we had to spend a week looking at 160 different kids' independent schedules. We looked at every single one of your kids' schedules. And there's some kids that have special circumstances. The grade 8s have to go back early on a certain day. The French immersion kids have to go back on a certain day. The grade 12, some of them are highly academic and they're taking another course like Bio 12 and F block, and they have to go back a certain day. We have 4 ice times and several hockey teams, and the girls teams, they're 8 to 12 on one team. So trying to create a schedule that accommodates all 160 some odd kids, it was like Sudoku times a million. It was rough. We did our best. We've accommodated probably about 95% of the kids. There's just some kids, it's just not going to work. And that's just simply because, again, 4 ice times, the girls team, we've got 8 to 12, it's just not going to work. However, all of Monday is basically a flex time at the rink. We don't teach, we're there, and that's the time that they get to use that time to come and talk to us. So if there's a student that will never ever have a class with me for English 9 because they have to go back to the school, it's okay, because 1, the material's still aligned, 2, I'm still accessible, and 3, I understand that they're not there. It's not like we're going to be super hard on them. So we'll work around that because, again, it's not their fault that their schedule works that way. So again, we've done our best to accommodate everybody. We wish we could. We did our best. But like I said, the Monday's still going to be available for us to talk. And they're priority number 1. I don't care who I'm talking to. If I got a kid that I never see and they walk up, they're the first one to talk to me. I don't care what else is going on. So they're the priority. So again, for those kids, we've already had them. We've talked to them. They know who they are. They seem okay with it so far, and we're just going to have to see how it goes.
And we fully acknowledge that there's probably been a bit of confusion, seeing as there's already been confusion from the kids saying, well, my Student Connect, or for you guys, my Parent Connect doesn't mesh with what is being posted everywhere. If you're at the rink all morning, follow the colored sheets that we went and gave you. And we fully acknowledge it's going to take a bit of time with us standing outside the classroom going, all socials 9s in here right now, please. Anyone that's in grade 11 into Dryland. We'll go and get like some colored light up things to go and direct them eventually, I think. But for right now, it's a learning process, but we've already seen in less than a week that they're getting it. We just need to go and give them probably another couple of days, and it's like, oh, I understand. Yeah, post-spring break. Okay. So we've already had this discussion with essentially all of the kids, in that the DHA kids are different. We saw it last year as well, where for the kids that are here billeting, a lot of them, they want to go home once the season's done. We get it, particularly for the kids that are older, maybe they want to go home and graduate. And so there have been questions about, well, what happens for our courses? Because we had it last year where some kids just ghosted and we never heard boo about whether they're actually still in our courses or not. Others, they were able to still continue to go and do their online learning, even though they weren't coming to the rink anymore. Now, unfortunately, seeing as we've moved to a truly blended model, which means that a lot of the examinations, tests, projects, they will be on paper. We can't fully support them being able to go and continue taking the courses as they exist as we've created them elsewhere. So as the kids have been informed, the best thing to do is, if they are already planning on going back home, is to already go and start talking to counselors and whatnot back home to go and see what requirements they need in order to go and make that transition as seamlessly as possible. And if they need to go and continue our courses, there's no other way. They can't go and fall out of ours and go and spend that last term back home with a different social studies or English teacher. Then what we have to do, because they need to meet an entire term's worth of learning outcomes, is have a giant project for them. An enormous project. We don't want to do it for the sake of oh, here's just a giant amount of work that we really don't want you to leave. We literally have to tick a whole bunch of boxes for them to go and be like, okay, they have passed this grade, they've met everything. So if they are planning on leaving, if you already have it in the back of your mind, yeah, my kid's going home, or for those that are online streaming now, hi, then just bear in mind, it would be a independent, enormous project that they would have to do. So just keep that tucked away in the back of your mind.
One of our big things, personally, as a kind of an educational pedagogy for Kate and myself, is advocacy. We treat our kids like adults. As far as we're concerned, we don't have seating plans, we don't do that kind of thing until they act like 2-year-olds, and then we do. So the most part, we just treat these wonderful student athletes like young adults. And one of the things that we crave and we demand and we ask and we expect is advocacy. The students that we were privileged enough to give out academic awards to last year at the banquet may not have been high academic, people in our classes, but one of the big things that stood out for all of them was they advocated for themselves. What this really means when it comes to communication and ownership of learning, point blank, we understand you love your kids. We get it, okay? And to be part of the DHA, we're privileged enough to work with some of the most wonderful parents who actually care. It's great. And we love the fact that you're so involved with your kids. That's awesome. We really appreciate that. But what we're asking the kids to do is, if they're struggling with something, if there's something going on at home, I had a student come and talk to me today because grandpa's not doing very well. And because they advocated for themselves and came and talked to us, now I know if that person is struggling in class, or they got a faraway look, or maybe the assignment comes in late, I have that empathy. I have that sympathy now, I understand. I want to hear what's going on from them. Because in the real world, when something goes wrong, you're not going to be there. And what I would really love to see, what Kate and I would both love to see, is for them to advocate for themselves. If your child comes home and says, you know what, I tried to talk to Friesen, I tried to talk to Pri, she's evil, she blew me off, she said, I don't want to talk to you, then email me. Please email me. My kid didn't get a chance to talk to you, this is what's going on, can we get an extension, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. But please ask your kid, did you talk to Friesen? Did you talk to Pri? Because we're not evil, we're pretty awesome, as far as I'm concerned, although I'm biased. Right?
My bio that I'm
We
doing
love,
awesome.
we love your kids, okay? We have this rapport with your kids, we want to build that. I want to hear directly from them, because I can answer the question about the short story they don't understand, you can't. That's what I get paid for, and I want to talk to them about that. I want to use a hockey analogy to explain World War I, because that's what I do, okay? And so I want to do that for them, but they have to tell us. There's a lot of kids in the class, we're not always psychic, so please tell your kids to advocate for themselves, come talk to us first, and then, email us. When it comes to the communication, this is another thing. Like I said, my maiden name is Gaspar. There was a problem last year. There's another teacher in the district who has, because I'm Jackie Friesen, she's Jay Friesen, and a lot of parents were emailing her, and then she didn't tell me, and so there was no communication going back and forth. Expect 2 to 3 business days, please, for us to get back, because we also teach other courses. And if you don't hear, then get on me again. But again, we just want your kids to advocate for themselves. That's the big key thing for Kate and I.
Paired completely with that is ownership of their learning. Just as much as they're being asked to go and take ownership of their performance on the ice, we're asking them to basically own how they do in our classes. It's been a message that we've said from day one with them. We're not expecting the absolute best student in the world from every single student in that room, but we want them to go and bring their best selves, and as far as we are concerned, they are writing their story this year. So what that means for us is we have changed the way that the game works compared to last year with them essentially being on their own. They are in class with us. We are delivering material to them. We are there to assist them. And if they choose to fritter away that time, if they choose to go and essentially not use us as resources, if they choose, you get the idea, it is their choice. We didn't force them to. If they make a bad choice, it is theirs and it is their learning opportunity. And so we want them to realize that just as much as if they dig themselves into a hole, that's on them. But we are also there to help go and prop them back up. Just as much as they can go and experience highs and lows, we want to be there to go and celebrate with them and to go and help them along the way. But they need to take ownership.
Last thing about the marks. This is something that we should put up there, I totally forgot. So very, very quickly to explain this. The grade 8s and 9s are a little bit different than the 10, 11, 12s. The 8s and 9s are claimed by South Delta Secondary as their students. Technically not supposed to be online classes for the 8s and 9s, but they've made a special circumstance for the DHA, which is an awesome privilege. The 10, 11, 12s are claimed by Delta Access. What this means is that the report cards are a little bit different, they're a little bit trickier. It means that all our stuff, like normal teachers, science, French teachers, they're gonna upload stuff on Parent Connect. You're not gonna see that from us. Everything that we do is on Moodle, which is the online system. There's not gonna be progress reports this year. It was a faulty system, and I don't wanna get hopes up that it works and then it doesn't work and then it becomes a nightmare. So if you would like to know the progress for your child, 1, talk to them. 2, go on their Moodle, ask them for their password and their username, and you can go on there and see what they've been doing, what they've handed in, what their current grade is. Everything is on there for you. You just got to get their information. It's not going to be uploaded on Parent Connect, and basically the 10, 11, 12s, your marks will be put on Moodle for Delta Access. The 8s and 9s, your grades will be on South Delta, because South Delta has claimed you, Delta Access has claimed the 10, 11, 12s. So that's why if you're looking for their grades and it's not in a certain place, that's why. So 10, 11, 12, Delta Access, 8 and 9s, you belong to South Delta technically. So that kind of explains that kind of a tricky situation last year. Because we said that it was going to be posted grades at the end of the year, and then we're getting emails, oh, the grade's not there. It is, it's just not where you expected it to be as normal.
And those grades pertain just to their report cards. As far as progress through the year, we can't stress this enough. Honestly, just get their Moodle login, because then you can literally track their progress real time, every step of the way.
All right, thank you so much, guys. We look forward to your support, and we can't wait to work with your kids.
Thanks, ladies. Very thankful for all that you do. Standing to my left here is Tamara Dropke. Many of you already have had multiple interactions with Tamara as she helps us navigate the school and hockey experience inside our program. Just again to emphasize the fact that we have a large number of people that work cooperatively. Tamara's job is really the connection between everything that happens at the rink and everything that happens at the school. So all that transportation, all those invigilated exams, all that connectivity between those exams that are happening there and all the scenarios that happen here at the school is Tamara's task, responsibility, and I'm thankful again for the great work that she's done.
Heck of a lot to say, just that I am the teacher liaison, as Ian said, between the rink and the school here. I've been here for 28 years. My son went through the academy, is now playing pro over in Germany, so I have a little bit of connection there. As far as advocating, I'm a really big fan to what Jackie and Kate were just saying about having your child advocate for themselves. If they have an issue or a concern, or if you have an issue or concern, ask your son or your daughter if they've talked to the teacher first. And if they have and it's not working, I'm here to advocate for your child and for the parent with the teachers. So whether it's schedules, exams, anything that they need help with, I'm here to help them. Mr. Vasconcelos talked to you about the flex and the little bit of problems. I've had a ton of emails already regarding the absences that you've been getting, your child being marked absent. Don't worry about that, we'll get that fixed up. Other than that, Jackie and Kate will be taking attendance in English and socials. I will also be doing attendance for dryland training. So you'll see that they may show up to the rink, but if they're not participating in dryland, they will have an absence for that day. Any questions from you guys? You'll notice that we're a linear system. We have, so they run the 8 courses all year long. Some, as Jackie and Kate mentioned, some of the kids are looking at maybe going home at the end of the season, this will create a huge problem or a bit of a challenge if you're going home to a semester system. So you need to look into that down the road, if that's what your plans are, or if you're switching back to another school. What else? We have 3 formal reporting periods. The first one is in December. Then we have another one in March and another one in June. We have 2 informal reporting periods. One will come up in November and the other one is in May, which are, the teachers will have to do the one in November, but they don't have to do the one in May. So if you have any questions about any of your courses other than the online ones, you can contact the teachers or you can contact me. But I suggest you hook on to Parent Connect. Is there anybody that can't get on to Parent Connect here? Has tried to sign in? I've had emails from some of the kids, they can't get on. I have their passwords. So if they need that, they can come and see me. I have their network ID and their passwords if they're having a challenge with that. So I can help you out with that. We have had, just talking standards-wise, we had 117 kids on the honor roll last year and 32 kids on the principals list. Principals list is 92% higher in 6 out of 8 of your best courses, and the honor roll is 83% out of 6 out of your best 8 courses. So we have some pretty high standards. The kids work really hard. We're really proud of the work that they do. If they're away, as far as absences go, for hockey, anything that's DHA related, I will excuse them. I send an email to the office at the start of the week and say Bantam Prep Green, Female Prep are away, and the receptionist will mark them absent. Had a little bit of a glitch with that last week, but we have a new admin assistant in the office, and so she's just learning it. So if you get an email saying that your son or daughter wasn't in school, or they were in school, or they were away on at a hockey tournament, don't worry about it. It should be fixed by now. They just had a little bit of a glitch last week. However, if your son or daughter is away for a dentist appointment, doctor appointment, physio, or if they're going to a training camp in the springtime, it's not DHA related. So you need to call the school and contact them and let them know at the office that your son or daughter is away for a block, or they're going to be late, or they're away for the day. Okay? So just keep that in mind come the springtime, or if they're away for any sort of doctor's or dentist appointments. Okay? Any questions? Nothing? Okay, Ian?
Last guy.
Scott May, Director of Hockey Operations.
Okay, hi. I'll keep this relatively quick. I mean, those that have been in the academy before kind of know the day-to-day operations of what we go through. You know, speaking with Ian and the teachers, Tamara as well, we're also still trying to get everybody on the same page, coaches and players alike, with the day-to-day operations and routine, going from practice or dry land to practice to which classroom that they should be in, to which bus they need to be on, at what time, and kids are asking us, which is, it's really good, but we do have schedules up in all the classrooms right now as well. And it does take some time. I'd say by the end of this week, everybody should have it pretty well nailed down as far as where they need to be and when they need to be there, based on their classes here and also back at the facility. Equipment management stuff, we had our equipment handout the first day of school, or that Tuesday, the orientation day. I would say we're about 95% bang on with everything that the kids need. There's little things here and there. I really encourage the kids to come and ask me or ask their coaches if there's anything that they don't have. Anything from jerseys to socks to pant shells, gloves, helmet. Their helmet doesn't fit. We want to make sure that we have them 100% dialed in to what they need for the year. Locker rooms and times. So we have some standards that we've set as well in the equipment locker room. I think it's going to go a little bit better this year. When you have I think this year it's 136 kids, and we have them unpacking their bags in the stalls upstairs, it can be an absolute disaster sometimes, and we are going to try to limit that. And we're doing our best right now to make sure that their gear is all organized in every one of their stalls, and there's a certain policy and procedure in which that they're holding that they're keeping their lockers to a certain standard. Their bags are underneath, and the more organized and tidy their lockers are, there's a way less chance that they're going to lose any of their equipment, because there's a lot of kids in there, and stuff can fall out of their stalls from time to time. So that's something that we're working on a day-to-day basis, and with us working through that, we shouldn't have any further issues with that as well. Buses, so it's pretty broad. We can talk about the day-to-day transportation between the facility to the facility in the morning. So as you guys know, there's a Langley bus, a Richmond bus, and a South Surrey bus. All of those times have been emailed out. We're still working with the timing of everything. Right now, I think that everything is pretty good. If there's any adjustments that need to be made based on traffic, or kids need a little bit more time, then that will be emailed out and an adjustment will be made. But as of now, I think everything is pretty good. But if we need, I got an email today that maybe South Surrey might need to leave a little bit earlier because the kids aren't getting enough time to get ready for practice. That was the first that I've heard of it. I hadn't heard of it from our coaches yet either, so that's something that we'll look into. And if we need to adjust it by 5 minutes, sometimes that's all you need to make sure that they get on the ice on time in the morning. Stick rooms again, so we have a stick room for all the kids. We have racks that have been made for them to grab their sticks before and after practice, to put their sticks back onto the racks. They can also have access to their sticks before they go away on road trips. Usually there's somebody at the rink until at least 4 o'clock, if not 4:30. So when they come back on that bus back to the facility after school, there's somebody there to make sure that they have all their stuff before they take off to wherever they need to go. Road trips, itineraries, those kind of go hand in hand. So the coaching staff, we're going to actually have a coaches meeting. We have a coaches meeting with the league as far as our roles and responsibilities, and then also as a staff on Thursday to make sure that we get dialed in as far as an order and an operation, so make sure that all of our coaches are within the same standard and held to the same standard as far as what the communication and the expectation is going to be. So typically, the week before your son or daughter travels, you'll receive an itinerary from the coach, just outlining and explaining what that week's going to look like, or what that travel day or weekend is going to look like. So whether they leave on a Wednesday, or that doesn't usually happen, but it's a Thursday if they're going to Alberta, or Friday if they're going to somewhere in the interior for a showcase event. Whether it be flights, anything that they're doing on that travel weekend, you should have that a week beforehand, or that Monday of the week that they travel. Any questions that you have regarding that, probably best to talk to the coaching staff for the specific details, as they're the ones that run through all of that. Like I said, flights and bus times, departure times. Hotels when you're on the road, parents are more than welcome. I believe I don't know if there's any coaches that are banning parents from the hotels that we're staying at. I think it's more all-inclusive, and if you guys want to stay there, it makes it pretty easy access to your kids. Typically we stay at Sandman hotels wherever we go. They seem to be in every city that we travel to. And then a skate shop, finally. So new skate shop just opened up in the rink. So we have a new relationship. Gentleman in the back, Justin, is the one operating that and can ask further questions. There was an email sent out today regarding how that process is going to work. There was contact information on there with a telephone number, I believe, and an email. And apparently he's already received a lot of emails today just inquiring about how to get a skate sharpening card, and I believe it's $135 for 25 sharpenings, which should last the better part of a year, and if you need to renew that, then they can do that as well. So Justin is here. He's in the back for any specific questions for him, but everything I think was pretty well laid out in that email, and if you do have any additional questions, feel free to contact myself, website, or my email's on the website, and also the info account that goes to Kate Wheeler. part of our administrative staff, and usually communication that comes in. If you don't hear from us within a day, then there's a good chance that we didn't get it. So we're usually pretty good at getting back to you guys with any questions, comments, concerns that you guys have. Hopefully we can make this whole experience as good as possible for you from an operational standpoint. Is there any other questions? Day-to-day operations? No? Good? Awesome.
So that concludes, the purpose of our meeting here tonight. I just want to reemphasize the point that we're in that growth business, and we really, really, really encourage that the players take on responsibilities and use the networks around them to help them in those challenges. And we strongly encourage communication. We just want that communication to be healthy and productive with the intent of problem resolution, not of sheer conflict. Conflict's going to happen. It's natural in what we do. There's coaches that make decisions about who plays at what time. There's teachers who assign grades and responsibilities. There's fitness coaches who expect people to be on time with the right attitude and the right approach to the morning at 7:15 in the morning. So we set up a natural environment for them to have some challenges, and we expect those challenges are going to, for the most part, be positive. But when there is conflict, we want that communication to be 100% dialed into finding solutions. And it's been our experience in the past that for the most part, kids come back. So that's the best endorsement that we can have is repeat customers. So we'd love to invite any informal conversations that you have. There's some coaches that took time out of their evening to be available for tonight. Some very specific conversations will happen within your teams, things such as social media, things such as expectations and opportunities outside of our program, into relationships with scouts and other programs. Those are conversations that we're going to expect people understand the guidelines that we're setting in place to make certain we set the stage for a positive experience. So when we talk about dialed in, we're talking about being part of DHA, and ultimately that'll create an opportunity somewhere else. So thanks for coming.
Yes.